Hi everyone, it's Peter Sveneby. So you've got a sales rep that missed quota. Here's some ideas on what to do. First thing, we need to communicate. So often the sales rep doesn't understand where they stand with us, and so we want to let them know with very objective terms, here's what your territory, here's what you performed last year, here was your number, here's what you did this year, here's your new business number, here's your current business number. Just give them some objective foundation that shows in numerical form where they are. And the other thing I'd suggest is something we call an ACF quota. So often, sales managers set quotas differently. Some are stretch goals, some are more minimum acceptable performance goals. I like to give a sales rep 3 numbers, and I call it an ACF quota. The first number is the A quota. The A quota is excellent performance. I'm excited, I'm buying you tickets to the ball game, great work. The C quota is fair. It's, look, I'm not excited, but you got a job, you're on the right track, and we need to see progress continue towards the A quota. The last number is the F quota. You're failing. Basically, if you stay at this level, I have to fire you. And so by giving them the 3 numbers, they know exactly where they stand, and they know exactly how to interpret your reaction to their number because you've communicated to them where they are in that spectrum of frustration and emotion. Second thing we want to do, most sales reps that are missing their number aren't doing enough prospecting. At the end of the day, if they had more top of the funnel first-time conversations with new prospects, they'd probably be doing a lot better. So we want to take a look at their prospecting efforts, and we do what we call a prospecting audit. Step 1 of the prospecting audit, we need to define what an ideal target, contact, and company looks like. Sounds like basic stuff, it's really important, so follow along. Define what the ideal perfect prospect would look like in terms of a company demographic, size, industry, situation the company's in, who they sell to, various demographic types of information that would define the perfect prospect. And now this is not based upon need. It's not the company that called and said, I need to buy something, but rather these are the characteristics of the companies that are ideal for us to work with. And then the second part of this is who are the titles? Who are the contact points typically in that company that make a decision about your product or service? So to find these vice presidents, these C-level people, whomever, these are the appropriate titles for you to be calling on. So that's what we're going to call our ideal target definition. Step 2 of a prospecting audit is to have your sales rep list out everybody that they've called on proactively, outbound, made a prospecting call to over the last month or over the last quarter. Now, if there isn't anybody on the list, you already know what the problem is. But hopefully there's going to be a list. And the way I want them to make this list is a person's name, their title, their company name, their email address, their phone number, direct phone number preferably, and the last date they called them. And I want this list in a tabular, either a report out of your CRM system or an Excel spreadsheet. Either one will work fine, but create the list for me. Then I'm going to ask my sales rep, go through your list and put a check mark by every company and contact that you feel matches, company and contact, not one or the other, that you feel matches our agreed definition of an ideal target. And bring it to me when you're done. So I'm going to have a sheet that I can look at very quickly. I can skim, I can agree or disagree that these are ideal targets, these are not. I can see if they have a phone number that they've actually been calling. I can see if they have an email address that they've tried to email. I can see how many calls they made, and right there I'm going to learn a lot about what's going on and where we might need to do some work to help this individual get back on track. Second thing I want to do, I call it a pipeline audit. Similarly, they probably have a pipeline or opportunity pipeline or whatever you call it of business they are declaring is work in progress, sales they expect to come in at some point. And so the first thing I want there is, again, the same list, name, title, company, email, phone number, last call date. Bring me the list. Now, I might also have them do the same effort on that, put a check mark next to everybody that matches our agreed definition of an ideal target, right? Right contact person, right type of company. But we're going to take it 2 steps further on the pipeline audit. The next thing I'm going to ask them is, which of these accounts are scheduled? And scheduled has a special definition for me. Schedule means my sales rep sent that person a meeting invite and that person accepted. And so I can go to my sales rep's calendar in Outlook or Google, pull it up, see the meeting invite, see what was written in it as far as what the intentions were, and see that their counterpart accepted the meeting and that there is a scheduled future event. Very clear, strict definition. And what it tells me is that the company that's in the pipeline is still committed to my rep at some level. The date that they're scheduled on, the topic of the conversation is far less relevant than the fact that they committed time on their calendar to my sales rep. It tells me that deal is probably still pretty real. The next thing I'm going to have them do is for every account in the pipeline which is not scheduled, I'm going to give them 2 or 3 weeks to get it scheduled. Reach out to your contact, suggest a meeting at a future date, get them to agree, send them a meeting invite, get them to accept. Now, a good number of the accounts in the pipeline will not schedule with your rep, and that's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to clean out the dead wood on the pipeline list, but if they will not schedule, there's one last step. I want my rep to actively purge the account from the pipeline. And what that means is I want them to reach out to their contact either by phone, or if it doesn't work, they can't get through on the phone, then by email. And I want them to have a conversation or make a statement such as, look, I get the feeling that the deal, that the project or whatever that we were discussing is not tracking towards completion on the date we thought, and I'd like to close the account. I just wanted to check with you first and make sure that this is appropriate and get some closure. Get the thing off of the pipeline, but also create some integrity with the target prospect and create some closure so that we can come back with integrity later when it's time to revisit this account and maybe start it back up. One of the things you want to institute going forward with the pipeline is that all accounts in the pipeline are scheduled at all times. And if they get to a point where they're not scheduled, allow your rep a couple of weeks to get them scheduled. But if the prospect won't schedule with your rep, something's wrong, time to remove it from the pipeline. Last step. It's something we probably could have done first. I call it a sales rep assessment. These are third-party tools that you can purchase. You go online, you have your sales rep do a survey online, and what it's telling us, I mean, there's things like Myers-Briggs DISC. I use one called a Trimetrics. There's actually 3 distinct assessments in there, and it gives me an idea about my sales reps' values, motivations, drivers, what really gets them excited about work, about their behaviors. It's got a DISC assessment, so how they operate, and then about their capacity to work in complex situations with people, with priorities, and with processes. It gives me an idea of whether or not my sales rep can really develop into a top performer, or if they would be better allocated to another position, to a customer support position or account management or something outside of active selling. So that's the quick and dirty how to approach the situation when a sales rep didn't make quota. Obviously, there's a lot more to discuss, a lot more you can do. Would love to hear your comments as well. Would love to have a conversation with you. Feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.